the intro, Matt. He stuffed it up, so let's see if he can get it right. No pressure.
Keep this in, Theo. Keep what you just said in. All right, everybody. Welcome to another amazing episode of Roll or Die. Today we have Matthew Wickham of Wickham's Martial Arts. He is a real contribution to martial arts. He's like constantly driving people back and forward from, where are you, Matt? Where's your gym?
Yeah, we're on the border of Victoria, New South Wales, and in Echuca.
Yeah. From Echuca to Melbourne to make sure that they get to compete. He's always in their corner looking after them. Like, this guy has essentially dedicated himself to people and their development and their results. And he also is a husband and a father. Welcome to the show, Matthew Wickham.
Hey, thank you for having me. So honored. So cool to hang out with you guys.
Thank you. And you're also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and you have a lot of other martial arts experience as well, don't you? Tell us about some of your other disciplines that you also have in your back pocket.
Just recently, end of last year, I was awarded 9th degree in BJMA system, or Zendokai Karate.
Right.
So yeah, that was at the end of last year by by the founder, Bob Jones, and Richard Norton and Billy Monet. So I'm very honoured about that.
Wow.
Bit cautious, but yeah, I'm excited, and hopefully I can help out the organisation with that. I also I've got a black belt in Eskrima, Kali as well, Krav Maga, like that. Yeah, and Thai boxing as well. So through the BJMA system.
Man, you do not muck around. Okay, cool. You've got the ground game and the stand-up game in multiple ways sorted out. You've got some weapons then in your arsenal. So
yes, yeah.
What have you discovered?
So for a few years, I was like a coordinator for the Zendokai system for weapons. 4th degree level, you got to learn weapons. So I've done some training in Iodo sword training, a little bit, very basic, but yeah, I was for a good probably 20 years, I was helping out the organisation with their weapons training as well.
And did BJJ come along later in the journey for you? Was it always?
No. See, at I think we used to have camps in Mount Evelyn, and my instructor at that time, or one of my mentors, Steve Nadolkis, was running a camp there and had John Will, I think it was early 90s, probably mid 90s, and at the camp. So we did some like sit up and sweep. I remember it really clearly the way he was coaching. It was really like, oh, I love this. So this is good. And we dabbled a lot in it, like in Zendokai is the best of everything in progression, which means we like to dabble in everything and try and pick out the good things. And then Richard come and did a couple of camps as well. So he was doing some jiu-jitsu with us at camps. So Richard's one of my instructors in the Zendokai system as well, Richard Norton. And then probably I met a guy in Swan Hill, Paul Cale, and I started in 1997 under Paul, I think.
Wow.
So that's, yeah. And then from there we went, because he moved away, I went back into the army, and then I went under John Donahue from there. And then during that time, I caught up with Tiago, and we got on like a house on fire. And yeah, so I went under him. And
amazing.
With him since, yeah.
What a story,
and
man.
You are continuing under him, is that correct? I believe correct. I saw you at Grappling Industries last weekend with some Anya merchandise on you, and so you're now I think that's actually one of the first official competitors in the world. Your teammate actually entered under Anya at was it at Vic as well?
We had a few when we had Jess from Shepparton. She competed and I think at the last comp as well, so she got a medal. So she was the first medal taker for Anya martial arts.
Now we're going to get this clear. Is Anya something? Is it a Portuguese word, or has Tiago gone back to Brazil and said, "I want the most Australian thing I can come up with, and I'm going to name a gym after it"? Like, what is the story of Anya?
Look, I think so. Like, he wanted to take someone back from here, and we always talked about Anya mate, and so if you look him up on the Instagram, he's got Anya. So he's established his club over at his home in Brazil there, and it's got his logo is Anya Martial Arts.
Wow, what a legend!
So,
fantastic, carrying on the legacy.
Yeah, and he's been fantastic for me for the last 10 years. He's traveled to Echuca and done 3 to 4 seminars through the year to keep me going, and he's probably visited Echuca more than I visited him in Melbourne, and he's dedicated a lot of time for us. And I just think this is more about giving back to him and showing that respect, and I want to continue on. I suppose that's part of my other martial arts, to sort of have that connection and continue on that connection with my coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And just on that, I mean, obviously, notwithstanding Tiago's amazing impact he's had on you and the effort that he's put in, but what's it been like for you as a club owner in a regional town in terms of skill development and things like that? I suppose we're a bit spoiled in the metropolitan areas that we've got, we're sport for choice in terms of club locations and things like that. How do you go about expanding your knowledge, especially, say over the last few years? Now you are at a high ranking, you're a black belt, but maybe in the earlier years, how was that for you coming up through the ranks without maybe quite so much options?
Yeah, good question. It's been tough. It really has. People always say, look, you've been on this BJJ journey for a long time, but I just see it as that I have been isolated, and it's been like a long distance. So I haven't been pushing. It hasn't. When I started, I had no ambition even to be a blue belt, and then it just went on from there, and it continued on. This is where I'm at here. Is my third full-time martial art facility, and I always try because in the past it's really hard to get my students to go to a seminar in Melbourne or anywhere. So I started bringing people up. So even from when I was with John Donahue, we had lots of like Marcelina come up to Echuca, and then from there, when Thiago took on board, I've had like Robert Drysdale, we've had Michelle Nicolini, we have had a ton of Brazilians up and Brazilian black belts to Echuca. So that's helped my journey, having these people up and continue on. But definitely in the early years, it took me about 10 years before I got my blue belt. I just drilled the techniques because there's no videos, no YouTube or anything like that. So it was a lot of notes and just practicing what I've been shown, and that was it. So the basics that I just kept on going with that, and I was just teaching people as much as possible. We're training at the early years in the backyard of my place, and then I was running classes in halls for my karate, but also running jiu-jitsu classes with my white belt on, teaching people BJJ and just teaching the stuff that I know, and we're just going from there.
I think that's a testament to who you are, because who else, not many people want to learn from another white belt, you know what I mean? So you must have been very authentic about that. You're like, hey, I'm just learning this, but I'll work with you if you want. And they must have thought that's valuable. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm honest. I'll say, look, I don't know a lot, but I'll teach you what I know, and then in the meantime, we'll share it, and we're learning by each other. And I still do that now. Even now, I try and there's so much more for me to learn, being still distant, and I'm learning from my students, and I always have, learn from everybody as much as possible, and that's how you learn by your mistakes as well. There's been a lot of mistakes.
Sure, for all of us, man.
So we all can nod to that. For our own, I mean.
That's a good segue. That is a good segue, because all three of us went to Las Vegas together, competed in the World Masters. All three of us were taken out in the first round. Matt, what did you learn from that experience, my brother?
That was funny. Well, Thiago goes, "You got to compete, Matt," because I'm not really much of a competitor. Yeah. But the only reason I did it because I had no one else to roll with at the club at that stage to see where I'm at and how I'm progressing. So I would. And he said, "Come over to Vegas." I go, "Okay, I'm in it. Just got my brown belt." Yeah. And I thought, well, what I've got to lose, really.
Yeah.
But for me, with the experience of training with, at Rob Drysdale's and with you guys and the training and all that and seeing the whole process. And when I went into the comp, I had no expectations of winning. The goal was last the round, my 5 minutes. And for me, I lasted the 5 rounds. And I come out, it was like a bit of a blur. I don't know for you guys, but it was a bit of a blur.
Yeah, totally.
My opponent was he told me he was a squat commander over there. And he said, "Oh, Matt, you swept me." And I go, "Did I sweep you? I can't remember." It was a bit of a blur, but for me, the experience was fantastic, just learning and being involved and having the opportunity to compete at that level. And I love to do it again.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yep.
I feel the same.
Borders are open. Let's do it. Let's plan a 2023 trip. I mean, there's one this year, but I think it might be a bit too soon to do
next
it.
Year. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. 2024.
Oh, what? You're 2 years away. Come on, Anton.
Oh, okay, no, 2023. Sorry. Yeah, 2023. My bad.
And
I'm getting old. I think I'm in Masters 5 now. So
me too.
I'll probably
not far.
No,
we're still Masters 4, I think, Anton. We're still good. And Matt, you've also got a son, Mitchell, who does jiu-jitsu as well. He's a purple belt, or is he?
Purple belt, yeah.
And
purple
MMA.
belt now.
He does MMA.
And MMA.
Well.
Yeah. So tell us about that. Did he sort of join along just by osmosis with you, or was he kind of pushing for it? How did he get into jiu-jitsu, and then what's that been like?
Well, ever since he was a young kid and he's been involved at the club, he just wanted to be a UFC fighter. That's all he wanted to do. And people are like, "What are you going to do when you grow up?" "I'm going to be a UFC fighter." And he's always said that. He wanted to compete in anything. So we did, when he was like 12, we did Muay Thai fights for him. And then he went on to jiu-jitsu as well. And then we started traveling all around this, from Sydney to Tassie, wherever for a competition. Then he went to Worlds, did Kids Worlds, and then he did Worlds as well as a blue belt, just to try and gain as much experience as possible. I think having Cooper going to Worlds sort of sparked his interest to travel over and compete over there. And I'm super proud of him. He's at the moment he's training in Collingwood. He's moved in Melbourne, doing what he wants to do, and he's had one MMA fight, amateur one. I think he's got one coming up. And I said, well, that's the experience. You've got to get the experience. I'm not, I got jiu-jitsu and Thai boxing, but connecting them together and in a combative way, I'm not that experienced. So I said, you best go out and find out who's the best and train with them. So that's what he's doing. So
what's it like as a parent when your son or daughter starts like doing full contact 4-ounce glove stuff? Is that okay with you? How do you feel?
At his first amateur fight, I was sort of a bit like, oh, I want to get in there and slap him about and, tell him what to do. But I held back, but I was a bit nervous as well for him.
Yeah.
I'm okay for it. I'm okay as long as goes in there and he's prepared, he's trained for it. If he didn't prepare for it, I'll be, telling him not to.
Yeah.
So a couple of weekends ago, we had the jiu-jitsu comp at MSAC, and he turned up and he was crook, and he was down for the purple belt division and also the open division. And he did the first one. He turned up as white, and I said, as a father, I'm telling you, just stop, go home, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, not as a coach, but as a father, you're going home. I'm just telling him straight.
Matt saying, get in there and fight for what's yours.
Normally I would, but he was terribly sick and sent him home. So, but yeah, very proud of him. He's 21 this year, so yeah, he's still got a lot and he loves it. So he loves it like I do. And when we used to travel, like we'd travel to Sydney or Canberra for the comps, and that's when I used to jump in. I go, oh, I'm here, I might as well jump in the competition because, I'm standing there calling out to him, I may as well jump in and have a go. But there was no one, Masters, or I just jumped in the adults division and had some awesome opponents that learnt lots from. So it was good.
That's great.
Awesome. What's it like as a coach and a dad? Like we've had several guests on where they've been, in a relationship with their coach, and that's sometimes the different hats thing. Is it difficult to change hats from when you're coaching to when you're his dad? does he know that now on the mat, you're my coach and sort of thing, or how's that go?
At the moment, I've tried to separate myself from him right now because he's doing that other stuff. I said you got to listen to them, and beforehand, I was always a dad. I was never a coach or anything like that. It was always, Dad, what do you think of this? I always had the dad hat when I was, and then when you're teaching with a group of kids, you don't, I treat all the kids as equals. I don't have any favorite kids or anything like that, or adults. They're just all my students, and I want to help them as much as I can, best of my ability. So for Mitchell, it's just, I'm happy. I was always had the dad hat on most of the time. So
Sure.
the martial arts is me, that's, I do all this because I love it, and I don't have separate hats. It's just me. So yeah.
And he has a twin sister, Chloe, and she's into the martial arts as well, right? So you got a whole martial arts kind of sibling thing going on. She's different though. She goes down, she's more in the the karate side of things, isn't she? From just what I've seen.
Well, actually, I've got an older daughter, Alyssa.
All right.
She lives with Mitchell in Melbourne, and she was the first one she got a black belt, I think, at 10.
Right.
And then that was about it. She got into the Thai boxing and did some training, and she loves sort of martial arts and fitness sort of stuff. She doesn't do any training right now, but Mitchell's twin, Chloe, she used to be the receptionist at the gym, teach all the kids kickboxing and Thai boxing in the class. Because we've been to Thailand about 5 times to train over there as well. So over the years, we've been to Thailand and trained with the Thai guys.
Wow.
And Chloe's actually in Queensland doing a media course and business course,
brilliant.
So you're empty nester now. Is that how's that going?
You're an empty nester.
Yes. My wife has to put up with me. Yeah, and put up with the kids.
Wow, man, that's brilliant. And what's next for you, man? You've got all of these, black belts, and you've got your kids are kind of, all growing up. So what's next for Matt Wickham?
I want to continue on, and I'm still learning lots of stuff, and I think that keeps me young. Young at heart, and I still try and roll on the mats as best I can, at our age group. So I am still like the tester in the club, but eventually at some stage I'll have to back off. But for me, I think I do a lot of coaching at the club. So I've got coaching courses that I teach kids and teenagers and adults how to become an instructor in martial arts. So I have like a storm program. So the beginner kids can come in and learn how to communicate. And then they go on to another level. Level 1 would be to how to teach a one-on-one sort of class, to taking a kid to the side and coaching them on a technique of some sort. And this is with adults too. And then our next level would be to run a class. So over the years, when I first started martial arts, there's no textbook on how to teach a class. So you just based on your instructor of what they did, and you thought that was gospel. And then I saw a lot of things that I didn't really agree on. So I actually sorted out. I actually come across Barry Johnson from Bendigo had Dave Cover about 10 years ago Dave Cover is he's got 10 black belts. He runs the Satori Kovars. He's got 6 or 8 full-time martial arts centers in America and Sacramento and all over the States. And he travels all over the world teaching people how to become an instructor. So I saw him out as becoming my mentor and how to become a better coach and instructor. And I with a couple of other instructors, mates of mine, that we got him over here to Australia, and I got him up to Echuca, and he's like the, like the chef goes around to all the, that goes around and checks, but he's like the martial art one. So Dave would come in and check on my business, make sure all my stats, and you should be trying this out and trying that out. And
Gordon Ramsay? Are you talking about Gordon Ramsay?
Ramsay, Ramsay.
Without so much swearing.
No, he's super cool. And he just got his 9th degree last week in America, and he has conferences that Matt Ball and myself have traveled over and did the conferences with him, and been to the Vegas Super Show where they do the martial arts super shows. So we've been to those to try and gain some more experience and stuff for our gyms and our students and stuff like that. But Dave has been an influencer on me as my coaching. So we use a lot of his coaching skills to help the kids and adults and my staff. Yeah.
Great.
So hopefully I want to grow that into a bit bigger business myself as a martial artist, and keep my students happy and try and fulfill their dreams. That's the goal for me.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. And Matt, just changing track a bit here. Before we went over to Vegas, there was a bit going on for you off the mats in your home life. Are you comfortable to share some of the family issues that you had?
Sure. Yep, for sure. Yep. So, yes. You want me to start?
Yeah. This is me trying to be diplomatic, Matt.
But, and also, I guess, actually, just for a bit of context, maybe that and how it impacted you and your jiu-jitsu journey and them and
your prep and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, it's a whirlpool of emotions. Hey, so I can't remember the exact date that my wife got breast cancer or was diagnosed with breast cancer. So, which upset our whole family because we were very all close. And so she went through all the treatment. So super proud of her on going through, chemo and radiation. And she went through that. There's a lot of emotions through that stage for her, and the family was super strong. Like my friends and family and even our students really supported us like you wouldn't believe. So fortunate to have so many support people around us. It was tough. It was pretty tough for the family to get through that, and during that time, but also Chloe ended up getting anorexia as well at that particular time. So that was tough because Sharon was going through chemo, and also Chloe was diagnosed as well with anorexia and dealing with this with her eating disorder. It's a really emotional whirlpool that was at that time, because I was trying to run 2 businesses and Sharon was doing that, but also she wanted to keep on helping her out in what we could, and we did some clinics and stuff like that, and they were really quite tough, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone, the roller coaster ride with all that emotions. And if anyone's been through all that anorexia stuff, it's a mental illness like no other. Very stressful, but and then once we lucky for martial arts, I guess for me, was that helped let that go, like training and rolling with people. And I think the good thing about martial arts, when we take our shoes off when we come to the dojo, I think that's ingrained in my head that when you take your shoes off and you bow onto the mat, you leave all those things behind at the outside, and you're ready for class. And I try and instill that myself all the time. So when we bow, or if I come into the class, I bow and I try and leave those things behind, because as a coach, a student, you don't want those things to be on the mat while you're wrestling. So I'm very fortunate that is ingrained in my mind. And I think the training and the support from all my students during that time helped me get through that, because one of my mates, Victor, he's one of my purple belts. He's been training me for nearly 20 years as well. He just said, "You're like a rock of the family, mate." I don't feel like there was a rock at the family, because we all sort of pulled together and helped each other through that hard time.
Yeah.
And then Sharon was sort of, we're out of the woods at that stage, and then she started to, because she gained a bit of weight, so she lost a little bit of weight, and then she came across another lump on her breast, which was devastating, because going through chemo and then radiation. So Sharon used to travel to Bendigo with a few people to do which is like an hour drive there and an hour back, and plus the radiation for a long time, and had to go through all that again, which was horrific. So it was pretty tough. So got that removed, and at this point now we're all thumbs up, we're all clear. So yeah,
wow, that's great.
Well.
So
thank you. Thanks for sharing.
And
like through that time of that because Chloe was having some trouble, so I ended up being her carer. And that's when I took Chloe to Vegas with us to when we had to compete as well. So, yeah, so that was part of just being a dad. You know, you just do what you have to do for your kids. As you know, you bend over backwards for your kids, and that's what we just did.
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think she enjoyed the Vegas trip as well.
Yeah. I think my daughter was there as well, and dealing with the same thing, you know. So I don't know if I think it's mostly females who are dealing with anorexia as well. And I remember the countless trips to the hospital and just the impact of it and the heartbreak of it all. And yeah, it's a really, as a parent, I can really relate to you, my brother. And thanks for sharing that. It took me right back there, but it's also good that our girls are now, you know, obviously they're dealing with stuff. We're all dealing with stuff. Let's face it, we're all going to be dealing with stuff for our lives. So that's part of being human. But, you know, Chloe's up in Queensland doing her thing. My daughter's, you know, got a job and doing her thing, and we're all here today with smiles on our faces. So
yeah,
you know, and your wife's still here to tell the tale. Whoo,
yeah.
man, what a journey.
Yeah, she's an inspiration. Like, she doesn't think so, but you know, she's a nurse. She works with aged care. Like, she's dealing with old people with dementia and stuff every day. And I say to her, I don't know how you do that, you know, with dealing with that. But she loves the old people, and she's a very caring sort of person. And she's pretty strong. She's pretty strong. She doesn't realize it. And she actually got a brown belt before we got married.
She's a brown belt in BJJ, your wife.
No, a brown belt in karate.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, awesome. She used to compete as well. So
wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow, you really are a full martial arts family then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Does she train now? Does your wife train now?
No. She's just busy with you know, walking with her friends and you know, enjoying herself, which is good. I want to see her enjoy herself as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Martial arts is not for everybody, is it? Let's face it. You know, you can choose to go away and come back or not come back. It's all good.
Yeah, but I do think it's the benefits of martial arts. Every child should do it, or every adult, because it sets them up for success for life, giving the right tools and the right focus, you know, confidence and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of kids out there dealing with anxiety all the time. I hear it, see it, and then dealing with bullies and, you know, have lack of confidence and even physical attributions right now, because a lot of kids are playing a lot of Xbox and whatever games they're playing and not getting out and keeping fit, which you need to get out there in the air. And I think martial arts, everyone should learn some sort of martial art when they're young, because it sets them up for life. And I still get messages from my students, like early 90s, I had a few black belts, and they still today thank me every now and then for giving them a great start in life as well. So that's what martial arts is all about. It's cool.
Absolutely.
And going back to what you said before, I agree wholeheartedly about it. It really is like a form of therapy. So it sounds like when you were going through your hard times, jiu-jitsu for you really was that therapy for you. And I think it can be that case for everyone. I know that's the way I see it. And you nearly always feel better. I can't think of a time I've trained and not felt better than I did before the session. So yeah, agree 100%.
Even those nights that you think, oh man, I sucked tonight, or you know, I wasn't myself, or I got off the couch, and you go to training. You make an effort. You don't just sit there and go, oh look, I might go, I might not. But afterwards, you definitely feel better, even if you did have a crappy night. But you feel better afterwards and say, look, that wasn't a great night. It wasn't successful, but I feel better for myself that I actually did.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you don't often have too many bad nights in a row. Well, that's what I feel like. If you've had a bad night or two, you know, a good one's surely going to come eventually. That's my thoughts anyway. On you can't keep sucking forever. You just got to keep showing up. Eventually, you'll suck less.
Actually, have you met me, Kim? No. I can suck forever. Okay.
No comment.
I have a question for you, Matt, and I don't want to be controversial. I'm just actually fascinated by the conversation. But you mentioned, you know, kids getting black belts at 10. What do you think about the concept of a kid having a black belt at 10? Like, I just know that I've got at least 2 years to go on my 10 years so far jiu-jitsu journey before I get a black belt. and like probably 4, let's face it, and could even be 8, right? So based on my 4 years as a blue belt, 4 years as a purple belt so far, like it's a long journey. Other martial arts do give away black belts earlier. Having experience in both, what do you think about that whole concept? And we've only got 4 minutes 54 left, by the way.
God damn it.
No pressure.
You know, in the karate system, like a kid might train for 3 to 4 years and get their junior black belt. So it's not the same level as an adult, you know, for us. You know, they're only learning a portion of it, and they're the best at their ability at that particular time. So they are a junior black belt. And when they transition to teens, and they have to continue on learning and progressing up to an adult's grading. So it's little steps, you know. And so for us in jiu-jitsu, the color belts, they're acting like, instead of going from, you know, white to black belt as a junior black belt, they're going from white to green belt as a 16-year-old, and then going up into the bigger leagues with the blues and purples and browns, etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't mean it's a junior black belt. So they after they are no longer a junior, they stop wearing a black belt. They go back to a white belt or whatever it is in karate that you started.
For us, it's a white stripe for a black belt. So there's a black belt with a white stripe. So they're not actually a full black belt. So not until they become an 18-year-old, and then they become a full black belt.
Okay.
But I'm always trying to stress on that. You know, it's they've got to continue on and practice. You know, if they stop, they'll lose it. You know, they lose that skills. And the same, I always feel that with my jits as well. If I don't get to have a roll for a week, that I'm losing it. I don't know how you guys feel, but you know what? In these 2 weeks, you go, oh man, I'm gonna better put my white belt back on because I'm gonna.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it. We're nearly out of time, Matt. Do you have any other final thoughts? Any parting words?
Parting words. I just think you know, start training martial arts. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are, but you should get into it, because I see the benefits every day, and I'm very grateful to be an instructor and a teacher and to share it. And I'm very grateful for my students. They're always supportive. So when my black belt at the start of the year, I had a heap of students turn up. I think there was about 20 or 30 on the mats at Absolute. They're supporting me, and I'm so blessed, you know, so happy and thankful that they're on the journey with me. They're on the journey with me as well. So thanks very much, you guys, for asking me. This has been a blast. It really has.
Man, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll have this out in a week or so. If you could share it with your social media, that would be awesome to help grow our audience. And hopefully we can come up, and I think we've just missed each other a couple of times when I've been around Echuca, and hopefully I'll be able to come up and catch up with you up there in person, hopefully soon.
Back to all
hey Kim, we've got a women's empowering day in November sometime, or December.
Okay.
We're looking for someone to be a special guest. Maybe you can come.
That's enough notice for me. I should be able to make that happen. Let's do it, and let's aim for Masters next year, 2023. Masters,
Let's do the first round.
Let's do more than the first round this time, both all of us.
All right. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. It was really great to catch up, and we will hopefully see you on the mats really soon.
Yes, thank you. See you guys.
Take care.
Right, everybody. Bye.